An Arya sequel series following her west of Westeros was at the top of everyone's fan list just because they did the most work in the finale to actually set that plot up. At the time, it seemed like the strongest contender for an actual sequel series, like, oh, this could actually turn into a real show. So obviously the follow-up question is, what were those adventures? My assumption, based on the way the Game of Thrones Season 8 ended, the way they explained this, is that King Bran here sponsored Arya's trip. Basically, House Stark now taking over the Seven Kingdoms, because technically, even though Bran is the Three-Eyed Raven, he is still a Stark, so House Stark sits on the Iron Throne. House Stark sponsoring your sequel series. But the thing that makes the Arya sequel series more legitimate is just because of the promise of all this untold story. Nobody in George R. Martin's canon that he has written so far has made it to the Western continent and returned alive to tell everyone what's happened. That's why the Maesters don't have a much more detailed breakdown of what is on that Western continent. There are a lot of people that have sailed there and never come back. Presumably, a lot of them that survived just never did come back. We'll get into that in a second, too, because there are a couple canonical references to the Western continent throughout A Song of Ice and Fire that they can also use for some interesting scenarios for the Arya Stark sequel series. But the idea is that nothing from the Western continent has any real bearing on the original main story, for example. That's the important thing. There's no real chance of any of her future story ruining or somehow diminishing the original story. And unlike the problem you run into with prequels, like we have right now with House of the Dragon, because Arya would be a totally new story, none of the book readers or people who watched the original show would have any idea of what's going on. The original series wouldn't potentially spoil any of her future story.